Hello friends, it's Kerry Farr and I want to welcome you to this week's webinar. And since I'm out of town and in a place where I really can't do the webinar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a recording for you. And I want to say Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. And this is supposed to be our last webinar, but I'll do another one with you after Christmas and New Year's, and we'll let you, pre-submit questions, and I'll answer any questions that any of you may have. And I'm also available via email or telephone for anybody who wants to call me. But what I want to do is talk to you today about using a pseudonym or a pen name or a fictitious name as an author. And, a lot of people have done that. The most famous that I remember, of course, would be Mark Twain. Mark Twain was not his real name. His real name was Samuel Clemens, I believe. And so, anyway, you can use a pseudonym, a fictitious, or pen name if you want as an author. And I want to, go through that with you. Now, here's some things to do when you're using a pen name or a fictitious name. The first thing that you want to do is set up an email account in your pen name, at Yahoo or Gmail. They will allow you to set up free mail accounts, at Gmail or Yahoo. So, for example, if your pen name were Mark Twain at gmail.com, then people could contact you at this email address, and therefore you could hide your real identity. And we'll talk in a moment or two, or in a few minutes, about why you might want to use a fictitious or a pen name. And I've had a couple of you in the group already ask me about using a pen name or a fictitious name, so I want to go into a little bit of that with you in a little bit. And then number two, to make sure that you don't sign an email with your real name as opposed to your pen name, what you want to do is create a signature name, with your pen name using the pen name email address and a website that you might have, so that you don't accidentally sign your real name and people don't know who you are if you want to hide your identity. Now, if you are going to use a pen name, a fictitious name, a pseudonym, you're going to have to set up new social media sites on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, MySpace, whatever you use for your pen name. Now, this is a little bit of work, and it's something that needs to be done because you're going to use these social media sites to promote your book. And so what you want to do is you don't want to share your real name unless you want people to know it. Now, I'm certain that nobody here is, wanting to use a pen name for, ulterior motives, but there are many reasons, many good reasons to use a fictitious name when you're writing. Now, number five, your Amazon account for both Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, or CreateSpace has to be your real name if you want to get paid for any books you sell. It would be the same thing if you use a publisher other than Amazon or KDP or CreateSpace. They're going to want to know your real name. They're going to want you to give them a W-9 with your social security number on it so that they know who to write the checks to. Now, here's the interesting thing. Your account information, the person that is paid, is completely separate from your author name, okay? So when you set up your book title, and it comes to the part in CreateSpace or Kindle where it asks for the contributor, you would put in your pen name there, and your publisher will know who you are, but readers will not know who you are unless you tell them. Now, this is not witness protection security, but it's pretty solid security unless somebody from the CIA is looking for you. They they would obviously be able to find out who the actual author is, but your Aunt Mary, who lives in Toledo, would not be able to determine, uh, who the actual author of the book is. And I'll talk more about that in a moment because I wrote a book and mentioned some family members and actually hurt their parents with some things that I said. So in some cases, I think I would have been, or in that particular case, I would have been better off not mentioning their name and in lieu of using a pen name. I wanted to tell the story, but it would have been just as powerful without me telling their name. Now, when you set all of these things up and your book is live, you will be able to set up an entirely new author page with your pen name, okay? And obviously, you'd have to use a different photo, but you'd be able to set up a separate author page different from your real name, utilizing your pen name or your pseudonym. Now, there are several reasons to have a pen name. Number one, you don't want to hurt friends or family members when writing your story. Now, when we did our Create Your Own Book event in Dallas, someone came up to me and said, look, I had some things that happened to me in my past, and I want to share them in the form of a book, but I don't want the other people to know that I wrote them. Sometimes people have been sexually abused, they've been assaulted, they've been hurt by someone else, and maybe a relative that's near and dear to them, but they don't want to hurt other family members, so they want to use a pen name to protect their identity, and maybe in the book they change the names of the characters as well, so that nobody knows that they actually told the story. Now, I made the mistake of using a family member of mine, a first cousin, who had overdosed on heroin. I told his story and put his name in there, as well as the supporting cast. I put all of their names. And my aunt was very hurt by that. And in retrospect, I wished I hadn't have used their names and that I hadn't have hurt her feelings. I also had a cousin who robbed a bank. And it was kind of a funny story because he had gone to my aunt and he said, Ma, he said, can I use your car to go look for a job? And she said, well, sure. And she gave him the keys to the car, and he literally went and robbed a bank in his mother's car. Several weeks later, the FBI showed up at her house and told her the story of her son robbing this bank, and she just could not believe it. And so they opened an envelope and just started putting photographs on her kitchen table, and she said, that's my car. And my cousin, her son, had gone to this bank to rob it, and there were many pictures of her car at the crime scene. And so they used this to convict him. I wanted to tell that story because I thought it was humorous, but she, asked me not to, and she felt like that some family members would, find out about that didn't know. And so, out of respect for her, I didn't tell that story, even though that cousin had also died as a result of drug use. So, if you want to use a pen name not to hurt family members or friends or whatever the case may be, it's perfectly fine. Now, another reason to have a pen name is to protect the author's identity. Some people live, under oppressive regimes in different countries, and if they were critical of their government or powerful people, they could lose their lives. This is the case Even if you write against, Islam today or the Prophet Muhammad, those people could come after you and execute you. So I can certainly see why somebody in situations like that would want to protect their identity and write under a pen name. Unfortunately, it's also becoming unpopular to write about Christian values. If you say something about homosexuality, I mean, people will be in your face. If you say something about abortion, it's the same thing. So, I, for one, am going to try and stay as brave as I can whenever I speak out against things that I think are anti-Christian. But the fact remains that today you run the risk of facing some sort of persecution if you stand up for morality. So, again, to protect your identity is another reason to use a pen name. Some people use a pen name to separate the author's works into different categories. For example, somebody might write fiction, and then again, they might write nonfiction, and publishers in the past have wanted them to stick to one genre and be known for one type of writing, and a lot of times they wanted them to use a fictitious name when they were writing a different style, writing in a different style or writing a different genre of book. And then lastly, another reason to use a pen name is to hide the identity of the author. Some people want to write um, erotic novels, and they don't want, their parents or whatever to know that they did that, and so, they will use different names. Others want to overcome the limitations of their name. Maybe a name. Well, I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That name is so long, so he might want not he, but somebody with a name that long might want to use a pen name that is, not as long or maybe as hard to pronounce. Um, if your name was Alzheimer's, so many people have trouble pronouncing that name. You might want to change that name. So, whatever the case may be, you might want to overcome the limitations. Maybe you have an ethnic name and you're from a different country and you don't want people to know your ethnicity. You could certainly change your name to an American name. I see many times in America where people from the Orient will come to America and they will change their first name um, because maybe their name is too hard to pronounce, so they might change their name to John or Kim or whatever the case may be to overcome the limitations of that name in this particular culture. Now, a lot of times people do not want others to know what their gender is, and they will also change their name to a pen name, a fictitious name. So, whatever the reason may be, you can change your name to a pen name and write under that name if you so desire. Now that we've covered that, I want to just come back and give you a couple of my favorite resources that I use. And of course, I've told you often about Fiverr.com. And I would just like to point out that here on the left, this in your corner logo I just had designed. I paid $5 to have this logo designed. I paid an extra $20 to have the graphic artist get it to me in 2 days as opposed to 7. So I paid $25 for this logo, and he actually took a photo of me and made a silhouette of it. And I posted this on Facebook, and everybody said they just absolutely loved it. So, I mean, that was pretty cool for 25 bucks. Also, Bible storybooks for kids. I actually had this designed on Fiverr, and it cost me 25 or 30 bucks. So Fiverr is an invaluable resource. When you go there, just type in, what you're looking for, and make sure you find someone that has a good rating that others have used that you can depend on. Sometimes sometimes in the past, I've hired people and paid the $5 and they didn't complete the work. Well, the good thing is you have to pay the money in advance, and Fiverr holds on to your money. If the person doesn't do the work, you just select somebody else and get them to do it. So you'll get somebody else to do it, and Fiverr will pay them when you're finished. All right, so I use Fiverr, and then I also use ODesk. Now, I had somebody on ODesk help me design Self-Publish Academy as well as In Your Corner. And what I'd like to do here is just go to Self-Publish Academy, go to ODesk, and I go to odesk.com, and here's my account. Now, here is Nahid Hassan. He actually did some illustrations for me, and notice, well, let's go to his site. Let's see what he works for. All right, I have used him. It says that he is in Germany, and it tells what time it is in Germany. I spent $57.35 with him. He was actually $2.22 per hour, and I think I paid him a bonus, but he did some good illustrations for me. All right, so Nahid was good. KM Lee was a real top-notch website designer, and here you see that I spent $50 with him. This was for an upgrade. I spent several hundred with him. I think he's about 35 bucks an hour, but he works so quick that I mean, for a couple $100, he did some amazing work for me, and he's in Malaysia. So what you do is you go in here and you sign up for this, and you post a job, and then these people bid on your job, and you kind of look at their profile and see if you like them. Here's a young lady that I used to write some articles for me, to promote stuff, and geez, she was $2.22 an hour, and I paid her $12.59, and obviously I gave her 1 star, so she didn't do a very good job. But I only spent, $12.60. I think I ended up not, I'd hate to use the word firing, but I ended up not using her again because the work was so bad. Usually the people in the Philippines are amazing. Here's a guy by the name of Jerry Atop, and I hired Jerry to drive traffic to my webpage. Look at this, $1.78 an hour. I paid him $161, and he sent traffic to my webpage. So you can hire these folks and get them to do a ton of work for you. Here's Julie McCoy. I found her, and she's 33 bucks an hour, and she's phenomenal. She's actually in America. Let me take you to her website. If you want to get somebody to do writing for you, this lady does a ton of work. Let's kind of look around. All right, she'll write a press release for 49 bucks. You should put it on Newswire, which I've already showed that to you last week. All right, she'll update your web content. It's just amazing what all this lady will do. She'll do website design. So expresswriters.com, they do copywriting, web content, articles, social media content, blog posts, anything that you need. So those are just some of the services that I use. Oh, here's my man Giovanni Nazaire. He was $6.67 per hour, and he did a lot of illustrations for me for the book the children's Bible story book. And, you know, and for just a little bit of money, $6 or $7 an hour, if you want illustrations, he can certainly do them for you. This one's pretty cool. Somebody getting a spanking there. And really good guy, a good guy to work with. And, you know, just terribly inexpensive. And you can see all of the, look at this. You know, you can see all of the stuff that he does. So if you want to look up, you know, Giovanni for, you know, for some of his work, $6.67 an hour, and I rated him 5 stars. He's rated 4.98 there. Just a great resource. So there you have it, my friends. There is the training for this week, and again, I'm going to come back and do one more training module for you guys, one more webinar after the holidays. Hey, from my home to yours, have a very Merry Christmas. May the Lord bless and keep each and every one of you. And if you need anything absolutely at all from me, feel free to email me or call me. Okay, thank you, friends. Bye.